日本時間3月18日、米国時間3月18日、東京ドームで MLB 開幕シリーズ、東京シリーズ2025が開催され、ロサンゼルス、ドジャースがシカゴ、カブスを4-1で破り、華麗な開幕勝利を飾った。情報提供、ロサンゼルス、タイムズ、最大の主役はやはり大谷翔平だ。この試合後、珍しい場面として、ドジャースのチームドクターであるニール・エラトラシュ医師が日本のメディアに囲まれる姿が注目を浴びた。エラトラシュ医師はかつて大谷翔平の手術を担当しており、日本の記者たちが私を取り囲み、彼のコンディションについて非常に細かく質問してきた。日本での大谷選手への関心は本当に別格で、その大きさを改めて実感した、と語った。また現地記者たちは、大谷の広告が街中を独占している、と冗談交じりに語り、大谷人気の凄まじさを表現した。エラトラシュ医師も、彼らが母国でプレーする姿を見て、その感動と喜びが伝わった、と、日本選手の思いに共感を示した。それでは引き続き、日本語字幕付きでお楽しみください。
Have you ever hated doing surgery? Like, I hate writing.
Hello and welcome back to Dodger Debate, an opening day edition of Dodger Debate here from Tokyo, Japan at the Tokyo Dome, where the Dodgers just beat the Chicago Cubs 4-1 to begin their march towards 162-0, right, Dylan?
Well, I said 120, so they're 119 to go.
All right, so we're here with Dylan. You know him. We're also here with a very special guest, Dr. Neil Elatrosh, the Dodgers head team physician, doctor of the stars, I think, in sports.
I believe, too, Davey Johnston described him as very, very handsome, like a movie actor. So we've gone from Plashke to movie star handsome Dr. Elatrosh.
Just think of how long ago Davey Johnson was there. That tells you how long ago that was.
Who, by the way, was also a boxing champion in college.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
I didn't even know
he's
that.
Not just better looking than you. He could kick your butt.
Dylan is quite the investigative reporter.
That's right.
You can't
This is
hide
where he
anything
digs
from
deep.
your
The
present or
acting
past.
comps and the boxing things. If you have anything to do with boxing, he's going to figure it out. All right, so before we get into the game, like, Neil, what has this week been like for you, being around the team, seeing, obviously the reception that the whole organization has gotten here in Tokyo? It's got to be kind of a cool experience to kind of see up close.
Yeah, it's living up to what I had hoped to experience. That coming here, and I knew that there was a big Dodger fandom here in Japan. But I thought it was sort of limited to maybe the guys that were with us. But they really embrace the whole team. It's really they know all the players. They're very knowledgeable fans. But I really wanted to experience our guys coming home, especially Ohtani coming home as the Major League MVP back here to his home country, and to just witness what that would be like to watch him come out and play in front of everybody. And I think that one of the things I didn't really expect that was great is to watch what it meant to them too. You can tell it means so much to Shohei and to Yamamoto and Sasaki to be back here as a Dodger in front of everybody. That was sort of an unexpected display of real love for the game and love to play in front of their country.
No, a couple of days ago, you got mobbed by the Japanese media there. I know, obviously, I know. Right,
I was going to say, I hope people
Dylan's
are just
an instigator.
I hope people are just applauding you as they go down the street. The man who's fixed Ohtani.
No, but in all seriousness, though, right? I know, right? You take pleasure, obviously, in getting guys back to the field and stuff. But here, I mean, that probably gave you a little bit of an insight into how much your work, how much it meant to the people of this whole country here, right? I mean, did it make you kind of appreciate, kind of what you get to do a little bit more, maybe?
No, it really, it reminded me for sure. But let's be honest, they didn't recognize me. You pointed me out to two gaggles of Japanese reporters.
That's because everyone here keeps recognizing Dylan. He's trying to deflect the spotlight.
No, I smelled it immediately. I said, "You guys know Dylan Hernandez?" I said, "Oh yes." He told us you were here.
He had a big arrow just pointing that way.
But you're right. They were They wanted to know everything. Is he on track? Is he, is everything okay? And so, very, very, very concerned about, that his well-being and that he's going to be great again this year.
Yeah.
So it's. I always knew that there was a bit of pressure when it came to taking care of him.
Did you think about that at all when you were operating on him?
No.
That you would be like banned from like ever entering Japan again if you messed it up?
No. No, if I did, I'd be frozen. I'd be petrified. No, the only person I ever had those thoughts go through my brain was when I operated on Frank Jobe, because then I knew there would be nowhere for me to go professionally or any other way.
Speaking of another Dr. Elatraj, I don't know, patient, I guess they're all patients, right? Yoshinobu Yamamoto, who obviously, struggled with injuries last year, came back at the end, pitched great in the playoffs. Really seemed like he carried that momentum today. Fastball was up.
I mean, he's somebody who I think throughout camp really stood out to people around the team. His bullpens were really good. Even, just watching them with the naked eye, like, bullpens don't always usually stand out, but when he's spotting the fastball in different parts of the plate and the catcher's pointing back to him every time, like good pitch, and then you kind of get the point of view perspective of his splitter. Like when he has it working, it's electric stuff. And I think tonight you got a pretty good example of that. He was good with the command early. He really used the splitter to effect. I think he got 9 swings and miss overall for him in the game. He got 11 whiffs total. He didn't really face that much pressure or that much traffic. And I think even to me, like an interesting moment is just like how much this contrasted to last year in Korea. The way that game spiraled on him. This game, it starts with a pitch clock violation because the pitch comm machine isn't working. He gets kind of chastised by home plate umpire Bill Miller because he didn't, make eye contact with the batter as part of this new rule under the pitch clock stuff. And it's one of those things, like those are small little things that happen in a game that maybe, last year when he's first making the transition to Major League Baseball to the Dodgers, he doesn't handle as well. He handled it fine tonight. And I think all camp he's looked so confident, so kind of, Will Smith used the word intentional in how he goes about his work or how he's been going about his work this spring. And I think you see somebody who's really kind of learning who he is as a pitcher at this level, how he can maximize his stuff. Now, again, it's 1 start, it's 5 innings, but there's a lot of high expectations and hope about the kind of season that he can have. And I thought tonight was a really good example of, hey, he's kind of taking that next step, it looks like, to going from somebody who was good in flashes last year to somebody who, Dylan might be writing about this, but a Japanese pitcher has never won a Cy Young before. And that was the kind of thing that makes you think, okay, if that's what you see every start from him or most starts, he's somebody who maybe could be in that conversation this year. Like that, to me, is kind of the ceiling that he's at right now.
Doug, out of curiosity, so obviously last year when he shelved, you're obviously involved in that. Say through spring training, over the course of the season, if nothing's wrong, do you just kind of watch from a distance, or like how often are you kind of in contact with guys like this?
Well, he had the kind of injury that if you catch it early, you can prevent it from going south. And when that injury goes south, it can be pretty significant. But he was with the program. When we explained to him, what we needed to do and why, he wasn't happy about sitting for that length of time. He was constantly saying that he felt good enough to come back, but he went along with it. And I think that you see how he played towards the end of the season. He was really important for us towards the end of the season. But boy, does he look. He's electric when his teammates that are professional pitchers are telling you, "Hey, Doc, watch him. He's electric." Clayton Kershaw, I was commenting to Clayton about how good Clayton looked when he was throwing long toss. He said, "You want to see something special?" He said, "Watch Yamamoto do this." Oh. And so you've got the best in the business that are seeing the same things that we are, and saying the same things. And so it'll be exciting. I really think he can be really, really special this year.
All right, and it's kind of looking at the rest of the game. What kind of stood out to you, Dylan? You had Shohei Ohtani, obviously, he comes back playing his first Major League game in Japan. He gets that 5th inning rally started or really gets it going with the single. That got the crowd fired up. He had the double in the 9th inning. I think he talked about, or you were in his post game, feeling maybe some nerves about coming back here and playing, which, like famously at the start of the postseason last year said he didn't feel nervousness or anything in that situation. So what did you see from him tonight, just kind of how he handled this moment? And then obviously, playing a really big part in the Dodgers' opening day win.
Yeah, so the translation on that got a little bit butchered.
Yeah, I saw some tweets. I was in the clubhouse. I was like, oh, he's nervous now. It's interesting.
Well, what he said was that he never gets nervous when he hits.
Okay.
Right? And so that he said, going into that first at-bat, he was like, oh, like I'm nervous. And yeah, I just think this was just so big, right? That, I think as good as these guys are at shutting out the noise around them, I think it was so big to where, it just kind of became part of it, right? We've been watching right on Netflix all these different sports documentaries, the F1, the tennis, and they do a really good job of making it kind of small and intimate for you. Mm-hmm. The one that really kind of struck me, though, was the World Cup one, right? Where there's so much noise that's part of the experience for the players, right? You can't ignore it. You just have to kind of embrace the whole thing, kind of go with it. And this might not quite be that, but I think it's been a lot. You just walk outside, you can't escape it.
Yeah, he's everywhere.
Right, yeah. Well, right, before the game, right? I think Mark was pointing out how 80% of the commercials up there.
It's just a loop. It's Ohtani making lasagna. It's Ohtani selling green tea.
I don't know if they have a Federal Trade Commission here, but he should be investigated for monopoly, right? No one else gets to make a commercial.
I've seen some Yamamoto ads. There was a Roku
Where?
one.
Did you go to Osaka?
Yeah, I had to go to Osaka.
See, you have to leave Tokyo to see anybody else.
There are a couple outside the Nike store in Shibuya. And I think the other part about this game is, again, they do it. They don't have Mookie Betts. He flew back to Los Angeles last night dealing with this stomach virus that, it seemed like when we saw him around the last couple of days, he looked better. He looked more back to himself, but Dave Roberts said he had lost close to 15 pounds. He looked clearly fatigued going through pre-game drills before one of the exhibition games. The Dodgers are expecting him to be ready for the domestic home opener. And Dave Roberts explained it today as we just want to get him back in his normal routine. But then even Freddie Freeman gets scratched pregame with, what he said was discomfort in that rib area where he had the torn cartilage last year. He said he has a 75% chance of playing tomorrow. Neil, you want to?
I wouldn't be surprised if he...
He can sometimes maybe oversell his chances of playing.
He looked pretty determined to get better.
Right. That's what he said. He's like, I was going to play, and then Doc came in, and then Andrew came in, and then Brandon came in, and then we were all meeting, and I was like, okay.
We don't want to get the Doc in trouble here. He works for the Nixon White House.
That's true.
But yes, so he seemed optimistic about playing tomorrow, or even if he can't. He said he won't push it if he feels anything there again tomorrow, but that this is way less severe than what he was dealing with last year. And again, even without those guys, what struck me is that, the Dodgers struggled the first 4 innings against Shota Imanaga, who was really good, even though he walked a couple guys. But once they got past him, it was like the Dodger lineup we saw last year. They were grinding out at bats. They were stringing together hits. They were manufacturing runs. They put together the big 5th inning. And then they turn it over to the bullpen, which once again looks lights out. Even with, tonight, they're going to Bing Kasparius and Anthony Banda. And then you get to the last 2 innings, and Blake Trinan and Tanner Scott look like a pretty formidable, kind of closer setup combination, however they're going to be used.
Is this the best this team's ever been?
I tell you what, that lineup is just devastating. You got legit, by all accounts, 2 highest producers not there, and that lineup is deep, and the replacements are dangerous. I was going to mention about what we were talking about with Freddie and Mookie. This time of the year is the worst time of the year to take a chance with somebody that has something that, if you give it a little bit of time, can get better. But if it doesn't, if you're wrong and too aggressive with them, then they lose 6 or 8 weeks. Dehydration is one of the worst conditions you can have for muscle strains. You let Mookie come out here and tear an oblique or a hamstring, you're going to lose him for 6 weeks. or Freddie, if we were a little bit cavalier about that, you lose them for 6 weeks. When you do that at the beginning of the season, you have to start the whole thing over because spring training basically you wipe that out. You have to start over again. If something like that happens mid-season, they've already gotten into competition form, during the season. So there's a big difference between somebody going down mid-season and then having to sit out for several weeks and being able to come back and pick right up where they were before. Rather than, if one of these guys or a pitcher goes down, this time of the year, it's almost like they have to begin spring training all over again. So this is the time of the year to be careful.
The people who yell at us on Twitter about injuries are going to be really disappointed to have this kind of nuanced answer thrown at them right now about
Well, there's a reason behind all this. Telling a guy like Freddie Freeman that he can't play in the opener in Japan. That's
he didn't just take that with a smile. Huh?
No. Surprise, surprise. He said, "I'm playing." So.
Wait, who delivers the news in a case?
I can't talk. Like you said, this is like confidential stuff.
Well, you kind of took us there.
No.
You just called up the Nixon White House, and now you're like, "Oh, do you have any secret recordings of your own?"
Every decision maker that belongs to the Dodgers was there.
Okay. Oh, so you guys do the gang up on him approach
with Freddie? Yeah.
Yes. Even he was like, it might have been like that, but it was smart. He made sure to clarify, this was the right thing to do for tonight.
Good man. He said that.
All right. Well, the Dodgers 1-0, 120 win. We got to get the graph in the paper.
We do.
Them trying to chase down the 0-1 Mariners.
I said in spring training they're going to win 120, so it's 119 to go now.
All right.
You know what I'm really curious about too. I can't remember. I think it was Mitch Hedberg, the comedian, once said you don't want unattractive people delivering the news. So we usually have Plashke here. I wonder if having Dr. Neil here is going to increase our ratings.
Oh man!
And in that case,
I got to go back and face him. Now you say this?
Yeah, and then he's gonna freak tomorrow when he opens the video. He's gonna think he's been replaced.
I can do a good imitation.
Right. You can. Not only can you talk sports, you can perform surgery.
You can literally perform surgery. We closed the last video. Plashke, we missed you so much. You're with us here in spirit.
I still love you. I still love Plashke.
You're using me to bust. What would he think about those Pikachus down there?
The Pikachus really, the whole pregame thing tonight was just like a fascinating viewing experience. And I'm not sure if it was good or bad, but just they had him out by both of the dugouts. I think Kike gave one a shoulder bump. Ohtani's back and he's got to run by the little Pikachu character.
Pikachu's everywhere though. When I was actually going up to Sasaki's hometown in Iwate, once you kind of hit Iwate, Pikachu is at every train station.
Neil, thank you so much for coming on. It was awesome to have you. First guest on Dodger Debate. Big moment.
I've enjoyed being here with you guys.
Yeah.
I
the second half of it, we had you laughing a lot. Yeah. You were smiling a lot.
Well, we got to go back to writing after this. So we're just trying to drag it on as long as possible. Unfortunately, it's about that time.
Have you ever hated doing surgery? I hate writing. What should I?
There's some parts of my job I'm not crazy about, but
other than taking my calls.
No, I love your calls. I always learn something when I talk to you.
Yeah,
I learned a lot today.
Always something useful, I'm sure.
I learned a lot today from you.
All right, well, we'll be back here tomorrow. Game 2 of this Japan series. Dodgers open their season with a 4-1 win tonight. For Dylan, for Neil, I'm Jack. Thanks for watching.
東京ドームが歓喜に震えた夢にまで見た瞬間がついに訪れたのだ。我らが誇る世界の大谷翔平がロサンゼルスドジャースのユニフォームをまとい凱旋試合として故郷日本のマウンドに堂々と降り立った。この日世界中の視線が大谷に注がれ彼がグラウンドに姿を現しただけでファンの大歓声がドーム中を揺らした。東京シリーズと銘打った米国プロ野球公式戦ロサンゼルスドジャース対シカゴカブスの初戦4対1という鮮やかな勝利でドジャースが幕を開けたこの試合は野球史に刻まれる伝説の第一章にふさわしい最高の舞台となった。何といってもこの日主役はただ一人大谷翔平である。 昨季の最優秀選手賞を引っ提げて日本に戻ってきた彼は、その神々しいオーラをまとい、登場するだけでドーム中を支配した。かつてないほどの熱狂、歓喜、そして感動が渦巻く中で、大谷は静かに、しかし強烈に試合を支配していった。試合開始前から東京ドーム周辺はまるで祭りのような騒ぎとなった。特設された公式グッズショップは開店前から長蛇の列。店内には大谷翔平のユニフォームや限定グッズが所狭しと並び、その輝きに惹かれたファンたちは争うようにグッズを買い求めていった。大谷翔平のグッズがなければ野球ファンを名乗れないという声があちこちで響き渡り、その存在の大きさを改めて感じさせられた。試合が始まると、ドジャースの先発を任されたのは日本が誇る豪雨で、山本由伸だった。山本は昨年、怪我に悩まされながらも終盤戦で圧倒的な復活を果たし、この日のマウンドではさらに進化を遂げた姿を披露した。剛速球がうなりを上げ、魔球スプリットは相手打線を次々と空振り三振に切り倒していく。その気迫あふれる投球に、観衆は熱狂の渦に包まれた。しかし、やはりこの日のヒーローは大谷翔平以外にはありえなかった。彼がバッターボックスに立った瞬間、ドーム中の視線が一点に集中した。5回裏、試合が動き始めるきっかけとなったのは、彼の放った痛烈な安打だった。会場は総立ちとなり、響き渡る大谷コールにドームは揺れた。さらに9回には勝利を決定づける鮮やかな二塁打を放ち、彼の凱旋劇を華麗に飾ったのである。試合後のインタビューで、大谷は普段感じることのない緊張を覚えたことを明かした。普段打席で緊張することはないのですが、今日はさすがに特別な感情が湧いてきました。そう語る大家の表情には、祖国のファンの前でプレーできる喜びと誇りがあふれていた。その人間味あふれる一面に、改めてファンは心を奪われたのだ。ドジャースのチームドクターを務める名医にいる氏も、この試合の持つ意味の大きさを語った。彼はかつて大谷翔平の手術を担当し、日本のメディアからも大きく注目された人物だ。大谷を担当した際のプレッシャーは想像以上でしたが、今こうして彼が元気にプレーしている姿を見られて本当に感動しています。彼は日本にとって特別な存在であり、私にとっても忘れられない存在です。と、その重みを語った。さらにこの日、ドジャースは主力のムーキー、ベッツやフレディ、フリーマンが怪我や体調不良で欠場を余儀なくされた。しかし、主力を欠いてなお、この圧倒的な強さを見せつけられることに、専門家たちは舌を巻いた。このチームの底力は恐ろしい。主力が抜けてもなお、この破壊力、この打線の強力さこそがドジャース最大の武器だ。と、現地の専門家も驚愕を隠せないほどだった。それにしても、この試合を特別なものにしていたのは間違いなく大谷翔平の存在だろう。東京中を埋め尽くす広告、テレビをつければ繰り返される彼の CM、もはや日本において彼の存在から逃れることは不可能である。その姿はまさに、日本野球界、いや、世界の野球界を代表する唯一無二のスターであることを再認識させてくれた。さらに今回、彼と共に日本に凱旋した佐々木朗希、山本由伸らも将来のメジャーリーグを背負って立つ存在として大きな注目を浴びている。佐々木のスピード、山本の変化球、そして大谷翔平の二刀流。日本が世界に誇るこの才能たちが一堂に会するという奇跡の瞬間に、我々は立ち会うことができているのだ。試合後、東京ドームを後にするファンたちは皆、口々に、大谷翔平の時代に生まれてよかった、と語った。その言葉の重さを、我々は忘れてはならない。彼は単なる野球選手ではない。野球史を超えた、歴史そのものなのである。日本よ、今こそ刮目せよ。我々の生きる時代に、この奇跡の選手、大谷翔平がいる。彼のプレーを見逃すことは、この時代の野球を語る資格を失うことだ。東京シリーズはまだ始まったばかり。この後も大谷翔平の活躍は間違いなく続くだろう。今後も続く伝説を、決して見逃してはならない。大谷翔平、その神がかったプレーが再び日本の夜空を照らす瞬間を、共に見届けようではないか。